Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Richmond. Although I'm not sure that this is actually the city of Richmond. This might be Henrico County, but welcome anyway. We are at Fort Harrison, and this is another Civil War trail I drew out of the hat. And actually, I selected Fort Brady, but when you type in Fort Brady, which would have been the Union Fort, the visitor center comes up for Fort Harrison, and you get an address for that. So it's a little easier to get here compared to Fort Brady, which doesn't really have an address. You have to look it up on Google Maps and get the cross streets. And we're here to learn a little bit about the fortifications here. This is a national park, or it is a part of the Richmond National Battlefield, so it is maintained by the national parks. However, with coronavirus still raging on, the visitor centers are not open. So really trying to learn this battle on my own. I did a little bit of reading on Wikipedia, and I'm still kind of confused as to what went down here. Fort Harrison, the construction of it, you can see these earthworks, they're overgrown with weeds now. But construction started back in 1862, of course, with slave labor, and I'm not sure when it was completed. I want to say like 1863. So early on in the war, these fortifications were set up here, and really didn't see any action until about 1864, the fall of 1864, heading towards the end of the war. But of course, you know, people around that time didn't know the war was coming to an end anytime soon. Really a stalemate going on here. This fort was really here to protect Richmond. We are not that far from Richmond at all. And so in the fall of 1864, you know, the Union was feeling pretty good. You know, they had Ulysses S. Grant at the helm. Sherman was taking over in his march to the sea down south, and so Ulysses S. Grant made a go of it to try to take these fortifications that were around the city of Richmond, and was really unsuccessful for a little while. And you know, I've only ever seen the pictures while doing the research that the Union was able to get possession of this fort at some point, but it took a bit of effort. All right, so reading this stand here, you can see the picture down below. It says Union soldiers inside Fort Harrison, October 1864. Further reading, there was heavy fighting in September of 1864, and the Union was able to take control of this fort. So, well, Fort Harrison Trail. Really not sure of the mileage here, but I have my, oh, I'm sorry, it says the half-mile trail through the fort. Okay, so we'll only be walking about a half mile today. It won't be an extensive hike. Quite frankly, I'm thinking I'll have more time, drive time in the car than I will outdoors. Okay, so right here, this is a very beautiful picture, you know, for what it was back in 1864. So U.S. colored troops were stationed here, and I believe it may have been the colored troops that took the fort back in 1864. But you can clearly see there are colored troops, and I'm hoping I'm getting it on camera. So we are here. At one time, some fortifications existed here. Tents would have been here. It says Confederate soldiers standing on top of Fort Beauregard, you know, would have been in that direction. And the Union picket line of the 7th U.S. Colored Troops, just a few hundred feet in front of us here. So we are really close to the action, and it's not often that I get to hike in areas where U.S. Colored Troops were located. Maybe I have, and I just don't know. But this is like one of maybe 2 or 3 times that I'm familiar with colored troops being located in the same place that I'm hiking. But, and you know, that brings up, you know, a story. Someone asked me why I was so interested in the Civil War, and you know, the U.S. colored troops. And I remember when my father, I sat down with him. It was like in the early 90s. I was very young. And I sat down with him and I watched the movie Glory. And anyone interested in the Civil War has probably seen Glory. They just don't teach you about, you know, the movie Glory in school. And so you start digging and you come to find out all of these things that happen that aren't in a history book. And I just kept wanting to learn. And that's how I got here. Okay, so reading that sign back there, when the Union captured Fort Harrison, they changed the name to Fort Burnham. Oh, it looks like there's more trail down there. It looks like it's leading me into the woods, guys. You know how I am about walking Civil War trails in the woods. Yeah, I feel more comfortable when I'm in the open like this. But yeah, the marker was saying that, you know, Grant thought, you know, taking over this fortification, he'd be done. No, like I said, Confederates were surrounded. They had many batteries around here, and they just kept, you know, launching the cannonballs over here. So, really, no rest for the weary. Lord have mercy. Of course, you know, National Parks is always good about putting up signage about the amount of deaths that have occurred on the battlefield here. So Union soldiers constructed these entrenchments after September of 1864, or after the Battle of 1864. This line ran continuously south 2.5 miles, connecting Fort Harrison, or Fort Burnham, the renamed fort, to Fort Brady on the James. I want y'all to notice how I just, I went into the woods. I didn't really know what was going on, but I went into it with the mindset that I wanted to explore it, and I did. So I'm boosting my confidence every little Civil War trail that I go explore. Oh Lord. So surprise attack. You're standing where hand-to-hand fighting erupted as Union troops stormed Fort Harrison on September 29th, 1864. On top of the fort's parapet, I think that's how you pronounce it, General Hiram Burnham clutched his chest after receiving a mortal wound. General George J. Stannard's division lost about 750 men killed and wounded in the attack on Fort Harrison. Butler's army lost an additional 2,200 men in the day's fighting at other nearby forts and at New Market Heights. Confederate losses for September 29th are estimated at 500, including nearly all 200 defenders at Fort Harrison. All right, it looks like we are almost to the start, or the parking lot. And so I am going to try to look up a map of Fort Brady. I looked at it yesterday and then again this morning before I took off. But I'm going to bring it up one more time to make sure I know where I'm going. And I will see you at Fort Brady. All right, y'all, so we made it to Fort Brady. I'm very envious of all the homes that are down the road here. They're just all so big and beautiful. Well, you know, they're not mansions. They look like $300,000, $400,000 homes, but I'm just so envious. Would love to own a home like that, just pushed up in the woods. No one knows that you're really there. But anyway, yeah, we made it to Fort Brady. I'm going to read some signage before I start on the trail here shortly. Really easy to find. Like I said, there is no address, and once you get out on the road, you know, from Fort Harrison, if you make a left, it spits you out on a road that'll bring you down to Fort Brady, and just start looking for the Fort Brady signs. So Fort Brady, in October of 1864, just days after Fort Harrison was captured by Union troops, Federal engineers designed a 2.5-mile long line of fortifications connecting Fort Harrison to Fort Brady here on the James River. Their plan called for strategically placed artillery redoubts connected by infantry trenches along the entire length. So for nearly a month, the 1st New York Engineers, assisted by the 127th U.S. Colored Troops, labored to complete the work. In addition to building the earthworks, they cut down trees for several hundred yards in front of the earthworks and strengthened the defenses with sharpened tree limbs. By November 1864, the menacing field and siege artillery moved into position, virtually ensuring a federal presence in the side of the James River for the remainder of the war. We're definitely going to stay off the earthworks because we here at Black Country respect history and are here to be a friend of history and not damage. You know, when we come into a outdoor museum, you know, they respect it the same way as you would an indoor museum. Okay. So this area is where they would have kept the powder. And there was a trench system. You can go down. I don't know if you can see this little, you know, U-shaped area here. Judging by this sign, this looks like where that entrance was located, and this is where they kept the powder magazine for the artillery. So Battle of Trenches or Trent's Reach. In a daring attempt to attack the federal supply base at City Point, 11 warships of the James River Squadron ventured downriver on the night of January 23rd, 1865. Confederate land batteries fired against Fort Brady as the darkened warships steamed past. One incoming shell disabled a gun in the fort. The foray ended in failure when the Confederate vessels ran into the Federal fleet downriver. Fort Brady's gunners stood ready and shelled the Confederate squadron mercilessly on their return trip upriver on January 25th. Although bloodied, Fort Brady's defenders had survived their first and only major combat test of the war. So yeah, guys, not really much here, but if you are on you know the journey of looking at Richmond National Battlefield, you know there are 13 areas that the National Park Service maintains, and this is just one of the 13. Maybe they count this as one and Fort Harrison as another, I'm not sure. But if you're just looking to discover and see what went on, if you were, you know, in Virginia and are like me and like seeing Civil War sites, yeah, come on and visit and, you know, spend a few days in Richmond and, you know, visit the sites that the National Park Service maintains. But we're going to see if we can visit one of the 3 batteries that have a parking lot there, one of the Confederate batteries. I think the closest one is Fort Hoke, and we're going to see what that's like, and then I'm pretty sure the rest of them are similar. We'll drive past them, and if it's worth stopping, I'll do that. All right, so we made it to Fort Hoke, maybe like a 2-3 minute drive up from where we were located at Fort Brady. So really not far between the forts here as far as battle placement. Very much the Confederate cannons that were here, you know, could have reached Fort Harrison, Fort Brady. So under constant pressure from fire. All right, so we are at Fort Gilmer, which I believe is the last fortification where you can park and see what's going on here prior to, you know, hitting the main road. You get a nice picture, making memories here while we are living here in Virginia for the moment. But, you know, these are like small in comparison to Fort Harrison. It's not like they've built a trail system that you can get out and walk in the interior of the fort. So you can see the raised earthworks that are here. And And like I said, as you're driving along, I believe this is Battlefield Park Road. You could see the earthworks just stretch all the way down, and then, you know, folks are living in the forts currently with their nice, beautiful homes. But let's read about what went on here at Fort Gilmer. So just reinforcing the idea that before you, all of this would have been cleared. It would have just been, you know, land that the Confederates could see the Union attacking. There were no surprises here. And so as the Union troops left Fort Harrison in order to attack here, the Confederates could see them very easily and they could cut them down. No problem. But yeah, folks, I'm getting ready to close it out here. Getting ready to head back down to Hampton Roads. Like I said, I probably spent more time driving here than I did outdoors here. But it's getting hot, it's getting muggy, I'm sweating, and I'm ready to take another shower. There is a barbecue joint up the street that I was looking to try, but you know, the more I think about it, the more disappointed in Virginia's barbecue scene that I am. Every time I go out to try barbecue in Virginia, you know, I keep thinking that it's going to be similar to North Carolina. And if North Carolina, if this is what y'all are doing with y'all barbecue, I want no parts of it. But anyway, I'm getting ready to head on home. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you on the next adventure. Peace.